Are you really relaxed about no deal?
Well, look, we're obviously aiming to get the very best deal we can on trade, security and all of those other areas. We've made really good progress this week, and as you know, I've been out to see Michel Barnier, and I'll go out again next week. So those negotiations are going, and that's what we're planning for. But I think any responsible government would have to make sure you've got the planning and the preparations in place in the event of the negotiations not reaching a positive outcome, and that's what we're doing.
So a lot of people watching will be thinking, well, what does that mean? Can I just show you, first of all, a graph produced by the IMF about the effect of a WTO rules exit, or no deal, as it were, on different European economies. Here it is. And so there we get all the different... the Finnish are barely affected. All these European economies see a decline in their GDP. Everybody does, except for Britain and Ireland, where it's a really dramatic decline. Ireland falls by nearly 4% and we fall by 4%. Looking at that kind of graph, do you accept that analysis by the IMF?
Well, look, there's been all sorts of analysis done. The Bank of England has produced some analysis which show that it wouldn't be the best outcome for either side, but it would in material way aspects be worse for the EU side. But let's just be very clear about this. I'm striving every sinew with our department, with Michel Barnier, who I think is a man that wants to do a deal with us. Tremendous pressures on his side to get the best deal. But we've got to, I think it's the responsible thing to do, to be prepared if those negotiations and the energy and the ambition and the pragmatism we're showing are not reciprocated. So that's the responsible thing to do, whether it's the allocation of money, preparation of our treaty relations, we're hiring extra border staff, and I think people need to know that actually we're ready so that Britain can thrive whatever happens.
So that's what I want to ask you about. Can I ask about the situation, for instance, of the 300,000 British citizens living at the moment in Spain? The week after a no-deal situation, what would be their legal position?
Well, look, as I said to you before, we've got the position in place with the EU, and actually on the withdrawal agreement, which deals with the rights of EU nationals here, UK expats abroad. We've come to an agreement on all of that. Now,
but the withdrawal agreement falls under these circumstances.
It does, but actually there's quite a lot of preparation and planning that's been in place. We've got clear options. We will not do anything which will create insecurity, and we'll do everything we can to mitigate the potential disruption. And what we're going to be doing over the summer, which is I think new, and over the following months, is releasing a series of technical notices which for both businesses but also some of the citizens, including those that you've mentioned, be very clear about what they should do and what we're doing on their behalf.
Because if I'm a British pensioner living in the south of Spain, for instance, at the moment, and wondering and worrying about what might happen in these circumstances, I read from the European Commission this week there would be no specific arrangement in place for EU citizens in the UK or for UK citizens in the EU, and I think that sounds very worrying. Well, what is my, legal and political position?
Well, I think that's a rather irresponsible thing to be coming from the other side. We ought to be trying to reassure citizens on the continent and also
Why
here.
Is it irresponsible?
Well, I think they're trying to, in lots of different ways. And, of course, neither the Commission nor the EU as a whole speaks with one voice, but there's obviously an attempt to try and ramp up the pressure, and that's fine. Forgive me if I don't keep a laser-like focus on the substance. Now, can I just give you the three things that we've done this week, which are positive? Because the deal
I'm going to come back to no deal in a second.
We should do. But let's keep at the forefront what we wish to achieve, what we're striving to achieve. Two bits of legislation on trade and customs went through the House of Commons this week amidst all the din. I've been out to see Michel Barnier to take stock. We've got 80% of the withdrawal agreement settled now. So that's good progress. And I'm going back out on Thursday because on the future relationship in our white paper, we've got a principled, ambitious, pragmatic plan. And actually, they've got questions on it. And I'm sure you'll want to pick up on some of those.
I've got lots of things to talk about there.
But actually, if it's reciprocated, the energy that we're going to bring to these negotiations, the ambition and the pragmatism, we get a deal done in October.
If.
Sure. It's a negotiation.
Okay. Sure. But that's why I'm sticking with no deal, because for a lot of people that does seem a perfectly possible thing, as I said at the front of the programme, in front of our noses. What about all those citizens of other European countries who are living amongst us now, working in hospitals, working in schools, working in businesses, driving vans and so forth, our neighbours all amongst us now? After a no-deal exit, what would their legal position be in Britain?
Well, we want to strive with the EU to make sure we settle this issue. It's already been agreed as part of the withdrawal agreement, but you're right, there's no deal until we do the whole deal. But the prospect of us not moving swiftly to secure their legal position, or that there would be people being removed from this country, I think is far-fetched, fanciful, and would not happen.
They can be secure. Can I ask about the Open Skies Agreement? Another thing that people worry about a lot, because we have this EU-US Open Skies Agreement. With no deal, we fall out of that.
Yes.
That does mean that the planes can't carry on flying in at the moment, doesn't it?
No, I think we would resolve that issue, and of course
we'd have to do our own deal with the US, wouldn't we?
Well, we'd want to make sure that we inherit and I talked about the no-deal planning we're doing on treaty relations and the international relations. We'd want to make sure we follow those agreements that the EU has signed up to and that we've signed up to as part of that as best we can. We'd want to make sure we're dealing with the operational aspects of that, of course. And as I said, we're going to start... You're right to say that as October becomes closer, we're going to be engaging with the public more clearly about all of that preparation. What I'm not going to do, because we've got a very structured way with the technical notes of doing, is giving you our positions in advance, not least, because what I'm focused relentlessly and unflinchingly is on getting the deal, which means that we don't have to be concerned about that.